Have you ever stopped and wondered how the tech in your phone, stuff like 5G, actually gets made? We hear these big terms like global standards, but how does a country with over a billion people make sure its unique voice is actually heard in that whole process? Well, today, we're going to dig into India's answer to that exact question.
So here's the game plan. We'll start with a big picture of how global standards are made. Then we'll zoom right in on India's key player, TSDSI. We're going to check out how they took a local idea and made it a global standard, what their role is in India's 5G future, and stick around for the end because we'll talk about why this all really matters for you, especially if you're into tech. All right, first things first, let's set the stage. We're talking about the very rules of the road that make our global communication network even possible. Yeah, it's not some kind of magic, right? It's actually this super complex dance between engineers, big companies, and entire countries. The real puzzle is, how do you create one universal standard that also works for very specific local realities on the ground? And this really gets to the heart of the problem. On one side, you've got these global groups like 3GPP, and they're creating standards so your phone works in Tokyo, just like it does in Mumbai. But on the other side, a country like India has this unique landscape, different economic situations and incredible population density. A one-size-fits-all approach, it rarely works perfectly.
So, how does a country like India make sure its voice is heard in that massive global conversation? Well, let's meet the organization that's right at the center of it all. Meet TSDSI. That stands for the Telecommunications Standards Development Society India. And their whole mission, their entire reason for being, is to champion India's specific needs in the world of telecom standards. They make sure India's requirements are baked into the technology from the very start, not just tacked on as an afterthought. Now, TSDSI was set up back in 2014, so it's a pretty young organization in the grand scheme of things. But its timing was, well, perfect. It came into being just as 5G development was really starting to ramp up, which meant it could have a huge impact. So, what are these unique challenges we keep talking about? Well, for starters, a massive population, which puts an unbelievable strain on any network. Then you've got these huge rural and remote areas where building traditional cell towers is just insanely expensive. And maybe most importantly, there's a huge demand for communication solutions that are actually affordable. TSDSI was created to solve for exactly these things. Honestly, the best way to think about TSDSI is to picture it as a bridge. It connects what's happening in India, the research, the companies, the government's priorities, with the big global players like 3GPP. It basically translates local needs into the highly technical language of global standards. Okay, so all that theory is great, but let's see this bridge in action with a real-world example. This is where TSDSI's work gets really cool. Let's talk about one of their biggest wins, a technology called LMLC. It's a perfect case study of how a local solution can make a truly global impact. So what in the world is LMLC? Well, the name kind of gives it away. Low mobility, large cell. It's designed for places where people aren't, zooming around at high speeds. Think rural villages. This lets you have a large cell, which means a single tower can cover a way bigger area. And that directly tackles the huge cost of building out networks in remote places. And look at this. It's a perfect problem solution fit. The challenge of high infrastructure cost, solved by needing fewer towers. The problem of covering sparsely populated areas, addressed by supporting a massive coverage area per tower. And that need for affordability, well, that's met by lowering the entire cost of the network. It's such a targeted, elegant solution. And here's the payoff, the grand finale. TSDSI didn't just cook this up for India alone. They took this idea to the global stage, to 3GPP, and they successfully got LMLC included as part of the worldwide 5G standard. So now, this amazing Indian innovation is available for any country in the world that's facing similar rural connectivity challenges. How cool is that? Now, the LMLC story is an awesome one, but it's just one piece of a much bigger puzzle. So let's zoom back out and see how TSDSI fits into the whole ecosystem of India's 5G future. You see, it really takes a village to build the stuff. The cutting-edge ideas often start in universities. The telecom companies are the ones who actually build the networks, and the global bodies set the rules for everyone. TSDSI sits right there in the middle, acting as that critical bridge, making sure brilliant research actually becomes a standardized technology that can be rolled out. So when you look at TSDSI's contributions to 5G, it's really coming from multiple angles. It's about proposing specific fixes like LMLC, helping to guide how 5G gets deployed across India, and just making sure the entire Indian telecom industry is in sync with that global conversation.
Okay, so we've covered the what and the how. But now for what I think is the most important part. Why does any of this matter to you, especially if you're thinking about a career in technology? Because look, understanding organizations like TSDSI is so much more than just trivia. It actually opens your eyes to entire career paths. Whether you're interested in wireless communication, diving deep into telecom R&D, or even shaping technology policy, knowing how this process works is absolutely fundamental. This is where the future of tech is literally being written.
So, if you remember just one thing from all of this, let it be this bridge idea. TSDSI's role makes sure that innovation isn't just a one-way street, flowing from the global level down to the local. It proves that fantastic ideas can and do flow in both directions. And that really leaves us with a final thought. The story of LMLC proves that the next world-changing global standard might not come from some huge corporate lab. It could come from a small team solving a very specific, very local problem. It shows that your ideas, right where you are, can have a global impact. So the question is, what challenge are you going to solve?